Moving on for now, starting the 2+2 dialogue, U.S. Secretary of Defense James Mattis met Indian Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in New Delhi this morning. The U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo also met his Indian counterpart, Indian Minister for Foreign Affairs Sushma Swaraj, for that high-level dialogue. During the talks, Pompeo said the U.S.-India relations are growing steadily since Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited the United States last year. He also said that U.S. supports India's rise as a leading global power and welcomes New Delhi's equal commitment to this partnership. The U.S. Secretary of State also added that the U.S. is hoping to discuss how India can work with the U.S. to achieve the fully verifiable denuclearization of North Korea.
Our partnership has been steadily growing since Prime Minister Modi visited the White House last June. President Trump is eager for it to continue, and he told Secretary Mattis and I that before we departed. We fully support India's rise as a leading global power, and we welcome India's equal commitment to our partnership. Our two nations are united by shared values of democracy, respect for individual rights, and a shared commitment to freedom.
Indian Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj representing India at the talks. Defense Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said the commencement of the US-India ministerial dialogue is a concrete manifestation of the vision of Prime Minister Modi and President Trump to take India-US relationship to a higher trajectory.
Today's meeting marks a defining moment in our bilateral ties. The commencement of the first ever ministerial 2+2 between India and the United States is a concrete manifestation of the vision of our leaders, Prime Minister Modi and President Donald Trump, to take the India-US relationship to an even higher trajectory. This meeting is also a reflection of the tremendous progress that we have made in developing our ties over the past few years.
India's leadership in the world supports our shared democratic values regionally and globally. We also recognize increasing connectivity between Indian and Pacific Oceans, renaming U.S. Pacific Command to the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command. With India as a major defense partner, we are elevating our defense relationship to be on a par with our closest allies as we deepen the broader U.S.-India relationship, enhancing our interoperability, our defense trade, our technology innovation and industrial collaboration, and bolstering our people-to-people bonds.
Let's go straight across now to Ambassador Arun Singh, former Ambassador of India to the United States, joining us on the broadcast. Thanks very much, Ambassador, for speaking with us as always. If I can ask you first to elaborate for our viewers and highlight the opportunity that this 2+2 dialogue between India and the United States really presents for furthering of the ties between the two countries.
Yes, thank you. So this is the first time that the 2+2 dialogue between India and the US is taking place. And that is significant because for a long time there was a reluctance to have a joint meeting of the foreign and defense ministers of the two countries, because symbolically it reflects a higher level of political, security, strategic convergence between the two countries. But the relationship has been developing step by step since 2008, when we did the Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement with the US. And after that, we have done more than $15 billion worth of defense purchases from the US. There is collaboration in defense technology, and we do a whole series of joint defense exercises with the United States. So with the development of defense cooperation, technology cooperation, economic relationship, and assessment of growing political convergence, the two countries took the decision last year, in the context of our Prime Minister's visit to the US in June, that they would now move ahead with a 2+2 ministerial dialogue. So far, India has such a dialogue only with Japan, and that too at the secretary level, not the ministerial level. So that was significant. And again, there was a lot of concern because twice this dialogue has been postponed. It was postponed in April because then US Secretary of State changed. It was then postponed in July because the new US Secretary of State, Pompeo, decided instead to go for a meeting in North Korea, cancelling the Indian dialogue, which many interpreted to mean that while India remained important, perhaps for President Trump, for the administration, it was not in priority focus at that point of time. So the dialogue now happening would be a signal to everyone that the Trump administration also reinforces the messages that had been coming from President Clinton's administration, President Bush's administration, President Obama's administration about the relationship with India. And what I found significant was in Secretary Pompeo's initial comments. He said that before coming, he had met President Trump, who had reinforced the idea that US supports India as a leading global power. Therefore, this would show that from one administration to another, there is a consistency in the approach to India at a time when a lot of people raise that there is a lot of uncertainty about the policies of the Trump administration. So I would say that this meeting reflects that the present administration is continuing on the trend from the past, that the effort to consolidate the relationship across the whole range of sectors, political, military, security, strategic, economic, would continue. So that's the significance of this meeting.
Sure, and when it comes to COMCASA, many are talking about how that is one of the significant aspects of this dialogue. How crucial do you think the inking of COMCASA really is going to be for both sides?
Well, it is one step. So I don't think, it is important, but one shouldn't peg too much on just one cooperation agreement. The COMCASA or its earlier versions have been debated between the two countries for a long, long time, for a decade or more. But so much has happened in defense cooperation that in 2016, for example, India and the US signed the Logistics Exchange Memorandum of Agreement. US has declared India a major defense partner. US has also declared that for India, technology releases would be what they call STA-1, Strategic Trade Authorization 1 level, which is on par with their allies and the closest partners. So there is a signal that step by step the relationship is moving forward. Now, some have argued that signing of COMCASA would enable higher level technology releases for India, especially in terms of communication equipment and communication support for the platforms that are coming for the US. So for that, the Indian side also has to assess in terms of what is the advantage to India, how does it relate to the other platforms in India. So when the assessment on both sides is there that they are ready to move with it and they do it, and there are reports in the media suggesting that the discussion on this has advanced significantly and perhaps the two are close to finalizing the text of the agreement or coming to a closure at least on the text of the agreement, whether or not they sign at this stage. So that step also would be an important step forward.
All right, we're going to leave it there for the moment. Ambassador Arun Singh, thanks very much for those perspectives and for those details on that 2+2 dialogue.